How's your day been, mate?
It's all right. It's been all right, but it's quite tiring. Just working and went out.
It's very tiring.
Meetings and stuff.
Very tiring. Calf, bookies, peep show.
Yeah, exactly. That's my day in a nutshell.
So it's time for Type 40, extra Type 40 video exclusive content with me, Dan Hadley, Birmingham's King of the Geeks. Welcome back to the channel. Scrolling the view screen for the sights and sounds of the Hooniverse, those fixed and not so fixed points here on our round table for April. And who's calling this time? It's a conference call. Of course it is. I've got the gang's all here. We've got a crowd here. We've got Gary Akers, the Retro Doc. He's back again, straight back from WonderCon. Yes, they let him go. You went to an exhibit, were you? He wasn't an exhibit, he was an attendee. He wants to make it very clear. We've got the Mega Geek. We've got from the WonderCon to the Mega Geek over the other side there. Good luck, everybody. Ian, it's become a thing. Good
luck.
Yes.
It's a mega thing. We've got Goldie. I think for the first time on a Type 40, we've got Goldie here as well. Good to have you, mate. I know you've got plenty to say. Apparently, it's all been kicking off for you on X. I'm sure we'll hear about that as well. Story-eyed girl Sarah Graham without the bunny ears this time, everybody. Sorry, they can only get brought out of the box every now and again, can't they, Sarah?
Yeah, well, it wouldn't be special if I wore them every time.
So you told your husband. Oh God! And sorry, Chris. And Nigel's back too. Nigel Davies there in his room, clad of toys. There, yeah. And I hope they are toys, not people that they've shrunken down.
Although they are people, yeah. I've got the Masters Sonic. Well, what has he got? The shrinky thing.
The tissue compression eliminator.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh, that's the word. Yeah.
If I tell you something, if you want to eliminate tissue, the best place to go. I always go before I come on. I never record before going. But I wondered if I always compress my tissue before I do a live stream or a podcast. But just in case you are, this isn't going to make you feel any better when I throw this up on screen. This is Warmly Waiting Room in Bristol and Bath on the railway path there. And this is a very popular destination, I understand, for people on day trips and things like that, or taking the old mini break. And so you can go and you can have a cup of tea, slice of cake, maybe, just as John Pertwee would have done. And when you need to pinch one off, it's not too far away either. So do you have things like this in the States, Gary? You know, did they keep toilets close to eating places?
Unfortunately, over here in the United States, as you probably heard on the news, all of the outdoor toilets people don't wait for, an actual Tardis to go into. They just find it wherever they can.
I thought you were going to say they didn't work and they were purely decorative.
I was looking for a Yeti. Isn't there supposed to, what is it? The Yeti in the loo?
The Yeti, that's it. That's only in Tooting Bec. In Tooting Bec. Yeah. This is in Bristol and Bath on the railway path. I'm kind of tempted to go here and just so I can say that I laid one in this famous Doctor Who toilet. They call it, Sarah, they call it the Tardis, as I understand. But I like the fact, Sarah, that you've got the toddler's step there as well, next to the toilet.
Every eventuality is catered for. It's just very close to that table and chair. It's not what you want to hear.
No, it's not one you want to smell either, is it?
No, when you sat there eating your sandwich with your flask of tea.
Why would you want that?
Going back to nature, maybe Goldie. I know you said you had an uneventful Easter, but maybe if this was close by, would this get you out of the house? Maybe stretch your legs, go and have a spot of tea there. What do they call it? High tea.
Sure. I'm a bit confused as to this sort of arrangement and the placement of this. Yeah. I'm baffled.
You don't get this stuff on Radio Free tomorrow either.
You don't want to reverse the polarity when you're inside that thing.
Things could go very, very wrong. We talk about things going wrong. We're going to touch on a lot of Doctor Who things over the next however long here on the round table, mostly about the present, I would say, but anything goes really in our mind probe. We're going to probe all of your minds only your minds, I must stipulate there. So sit tight, everybody. It's not going to be too painful. But I think the first question that a lot of people I see answering across social media in the last week has been a very, very simple one, really. And it's the season 15 box sets. They are out. They're out in the wild. I think everybody who ordered them has got them. Obviously, these are objects of desire, as modelled by our very own Sarah there.
Yeah, good.
I got that one.
See, many happy punters have received their boxes, and that was season 20, of course, it is. But this is the one that everybody's got now. Season 15 is in eager hands. I have mine, but the question I'm seeing across all social media is, how much of it have you watched yet? And I haven't watched any of this. I've watched any of this yet. In fact, it's still in its polythene. Look, I haven't even opened it. I just haven't had time, but I do intend on getting stuck in. So my opening question is to you, Mr. Gary Akers. Have you received yours yet over where you are? You're in Florida, aren't you?
It's right over there by the TV. And like you, because I was at the convention this week and I haven't got into it yet. But Dan, I got to say that I admire your self-restraint in not even opening the packaging yet. My packaging gets opened about 8 seconds after it arrives at my door. It's a gorgeous set, though. It's beautiful.
Fabulous stuff, isn't it? So of the stories that are in this set, let's remind ourselves what you can find in this fabulous box. Horror of Fang Rock, Invisible Enemy, Image of the Fendel, The Sunmakers, Underworld, and The Invasion of Time. Which will be the first one that you go to, Gary?
Oh, Horror of Fang Rock. Absolutely.
Just start at the beginning.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, that's one of my all-time favorite Tom Baker stories.
But also, that's famous for the interruption, the broadcast interruptions, isn't it? In America, when it got interrupted by, can't remember but they never found out who did it, right?
Yeah, Max Headroom kind of character.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah.
I forgot about that.
Yeah. Yes, it's very famous for that. In America, obviously, England remembers the actual episode. In America, they remember the interruption of that strange broadcast. Put it that way.
That's right. It wasn't even. All these decades later,
they still haven't found them. Yeah.
It
was a major feat, though.
YouTube. It's up on YouTube to watch.
Yeah, it's on YouTube. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Very good. So about you, Ian, I know that you don't buy every box set, but you do order some. Have you ordered this one?
I haven't got it yet. I actually ordered it last week and I haven't got it yet. But Fan Rock, definitely. That'd be the first one I see once I receive it. That's a brilliant episode. I do like Invasion in Time, maybe would be the second one. I don't know. I like all Tom's stuff anyway.
Yeah. Just lately, really I've taken to watching them sort of all the way through when I open a box and watching them all. But The Invisible Enemy is a particular favourite of mine. I've got a lot of fond memories of that when I was really small. It's one of my earliest sort of TV memories, really. How about you, Nigel? Have you been keeping up with these box sets?
I'm watching this box set in order, and I've got the last episode of Image of the Fendal to watch.
Oh, wow.
About halfway through.
So there we are.
So when did yours come? Did you get it really, really quickly?
Yeah, I got it the day it was released. Yeah, I pre-ordered it about 2 months ago.
Wow.
Because you see people complaining on social media, I ordered it within 10 minutes of it being released and mine's come the very, very last. I'm never too impatient about things like that. I'll watch it when I watch. Well, you can see it's not even bloody open. So it'd be a bit rich of me to be complaining on X about it. But
the quality is lovely.
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah, they remastered it, didn't they?
Things. Yeah. All of it beautifully remastered. Sarah, you've had this one as well, haven't you?
I have, but mine's like you. I've not even opened it. It's still in the cellophane.
Call yourself a Doctor Who fan.
I just haven't had time with Easter and everything.
That's what it is, yeah.
And I then take it out the plastic because I don't want the kids to, get the fingerprints all over it. So stay like that. But yeah, no, I'll be getting stuck into this week, and I'll be starting from the beginning. So it'll be Horror Fang Rock for me as well.
Oh, cool.
Steadily making your way through another whole season's worth of the classic show. How about you, Goldie? Obviously, are you a streamer or are you into physical media? Do you collect these?
I'm pretty big into physical media, and yes, I have got it. And even before, I was doing a rewatch of season 15 anyway, and I always go back to The Invisible Enemy first. That's always one of my favorites. So yeah, I'm sure I will enjoy watching all of them in order on the box set.
What do you find so watchable about The Invisible Enemy in particular? Because obviously a lot of my memories are simply attached to childhood. It's blinkered nostalgia. But what is it about that one that hits for you in particular?
I think it's just the very fast pace of the story as well. The very fast pace of the story. It's from the planet to the hospital, just literally bam, 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 bam. So much stuff is happening. You're never bored. And of course, you have K9, who's lovable from his first moment.
I agree with that. I think that's true of all of those Bob Baker and Dave Martin scripts. The ideas are big and the pace is they're always quite pacey, aren't they, Gary? I think they are.
Yeah, and the one thing that I also really love about Invisible Enemy is just the gorgeous model work by Matt Irvine. All the ships in there is just, I'm sure it's going to be astonishing on Blu-ray. And all of the kind of shrinking and going into the Doctor's bloodstream and the whole, fantastic voyage element of it is just great.
Matt Irvine was probably one of the best that BBC ever produced, visual effects wise, in those days. But yeah.
He was kind of like a celebrity, wasn't he? And he used to turn up on British TV shows all the time.
Yeah, he doesn't get enough credit, tell you the truth. I mean, I guess Brian Johnson and who's the other one that does the James Bond effects? I can't remember his name. Those
Derek
two are the
Meddings.
ones. Derek Meddings. Those two are the ones that are above him. But he was kind of, I guess, TV based. I guess Brian Johnson used to be. Then he did Empire Strikes Back, didn't he? So then it elevated him. So yeah.
Well,
I do like the moment in The Invisible Enemy when the Doctor is running into, I believe this is the right story, when he's running into the TARDIS and he forgets Leela and K9 are there, and he basically collides with the TARDIS, goes inside, he dematerializes, and Leela's like, Doctor, because he's just left her there, and then he quickly rematerializes, and it's so well executed.
These are the follies of Tom Baker, weren't they? At a time where they were allowing him to play a little before it started to eclipse everything else, I suppose, Nigel.
Yeah. That was a good scene, though, wasn't it? I mean, but how did he hear her? That's what I want.
It's the magic of television, Nigel.
Cool.
Yeah.
You have to look at it that way, mate. You have to look at it that way. Yes, so here we are around the round table comparing notes about Doctor Who in the here and now, which could be the past or the present or indeed the future. Let us know what you think of it all, of course, in the comments section, as always. This is obviously 61 years of Doctor Who. 2 entire productions in the past. The third production, well, it's sort of up and running, isn't it? It's easy to forget that we've had one Christmas special. I'm starting to forget about it already. That can't be a good sign, but we're about to go into a new era proper. How you are going to celebrate this is, I suppose, it's up to you. I mean,
what a load of bollocks. Anyway,
well, that's kind of the problem, isn't it?
Yeah, very much so.
Is that what all the clubs over in the UK look like? You have that neon pink.
Yeah. Russell T Davies, the current showrunner, the past, current, and maybe future showrunner of Doctor Who, has barely stopped speaking for months. People are wondering, though, quite understandably, about his frame of mind, I think, Sarah, and how he views the show right now, both as an IP, an intellectual property, and creatively too, because I think he does wear those two hats, doesn't he? He's obviously the lead writer. He's writing 6 out of the 8 episodes, isn't he, in the next one? But there's also the business side to it too, which he does seem very much sort of plumbed into. He talks a lot about the business side. How is he going to wield this power and assure the series success and any kind of longevity? Many of us who are already on board are just looking for that kind of sense of security amidst all of these changes. I mean, he hit big with the new Doctor Who 19 years ago. All those ducks were very much in a row, and he was the right man with the right show at the right time. But I think we're all wondering now, does he view Doctor Who as something else to be directed and used in a different way? And given the fact some of the subject matter which he's quite happy to explore and to parade in front of a viewing public and a family audience, I think this worries people. But I've got a quote here from Russell when he was at the BFI. So we've got this was at the BFI South Bank premiere of last year's Christmas special, which introduced his new cast, Ncuti Gatwa and Millie Gibson there. And this is sort of how he seems to view the entire production and how the British people are kind of supposed to relate to Doctor Who in 2024. And he pitches it as this. He says, lots of dramas at the moment are telling you how bad the world is, and admits that he's done a few of those himself. He says, we need those dramas, but we need the opposite. We also need something where we can have a laugh to characters in the lead who are your friends. That's what this is. It's a lovely big hug from your friend. So the question I think I want to ask you, actually, let's start with you, Goldie, is how hugged are you feeling by Russell T Davies right now?
Well, I mean, if it was just this statement in isolation, then perhaps I would feel a bit more secure. But he seems to be saying things from the completely polar opposite sides. You have him saying this here, and then he'll say that we need stories about like the way that global warming is going because children need to be educated on those sort of things. So I'm getting very mixed messages from him in that regard. It's same with Stephen Moffat, really. I mean, he's always said the same sort of gist that we need to perhaps not show the world as it is, but what we think it should be. But then he'll do stories where that's, where it's, not the case. So yeah, with Russell, it's kind of, he'll say one thing, but we really got to just wait it out and see what actually happens.
Do you think that he's simply a contrarian? I mean, most of us are, to tell you the truth, but we're not representing major IPs on a global stage, are we? Do you think he's a contrarian, or do you think it's a little more cynical than that, and he just says whatever to whoever at the time and hope that we don't compare notes? What do you think?
I think with Russell, he has this ability to sort of... He'll analyze what the sort of mindset is of whether it's the viewers or just the general public, and he'll say something that really stands out or causes a stir just to create some sort of attention or perhaps to spark a conversation. But I think he also likes to please lots of sides of the fandom. So he'll say things to sort of make everyone feel, oh, this is the right guy for the job. But yeah, he does have an ability to sort of create some controversy.
It doesn't make you feel very secure about the future of your favorite show, does it, Gary?
I think that he's really testing that old saying that there's no such thing as bad publicity.
It's like the Conservative Party in Britain, isn't it? They're quite clearly going for, they don't want any MPs, they're going for a total wipeout. I just think Russell's going for the same.
Because I mean, of course I'm not rooting for, I have too much love for the show to actually ever get to the point, I think, where I'm rooting for it to fail. But at the same time, over the last few months, it's always been, for everything that comes along that kind of gives me hope that it'll be okay, something else is said or done or shown that where I just thought, I just kind of sigh inside. So I'm still at the point, even as we get nearer May, that I'm still not sure kind of what to think. I can't, it's hard for positivity to kind of get any momentum. I wanted to, like you, Dan. It's like, you kind of look and you try to find the scraps of hope in this.
Shafts of light. I know that you're pretty black-pilled on this now, Ian. You've said several times, and I do respect your position on this. But when you see somebody like Russell T Davies, Goldie's right, isn't he? He seems to say one thing one week and then contradicts himself the next. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I don't really care what he says. I don't really care about his version of this new Doctor Who. He's really screwed it up. I hate to sound negative, but this is not going to work. It really isn't. It's not going to work. Especially, I just read there's going to be a musical episode. It's like, well, this is not Doctor Who. I don't know what pills he's been swallowing. I don't know why he's suddenly been like this now, because he was never like, well, he was a bit when he started it off, but I've got no faith in what's coming forward at all. And again, I will say this with hand on heart: Ncuti Gatwa is a shit doctor so far.
When
He
you
really
see,
is.
when you
crap.
see Russell saying stuff like this, something you tell me quite often as well, you remind me quite often, is the stuff that Alex Kurtzman's said about how he views Star Trek can be used. There's a lot of the people who are at the top of these big IPs and the franchises we love the most are sort of saying versions of the same thing, aren't they?
They are, but the thing is, though, saying things like you want to do. Look, Doctor Who should just be an adventure in space and time, a madman in a blue box. That's all it should be. We should be talking about climate change. I mean, it's all right to talk about it, but don't let it engulf the story. Do you know what I mean? Just let's just have adventures. Let's just have Doctor Who back. That's all. I mean, quite frankly, we haven't had Doctor Who back since Bacaldi, I think. But even Bacaldi's run was really terrible. Let's face it. He's a brilliant actor. He was a brilliant doctor, but he was just spoilt by all the politics and the crappy scripts that he got. Do you know what I mean? So we just need Doctor Who back.
Nigel, how do you feel about this? Because Russell T Davies is a huge figure in the industry in Britain, isn't he? But at the end of the day, do we need our TV producers to be this gobby anyway? Should they just put the stuff on the telly, let us see it, and kind of judge for ourselves? When did people? Where is this? Is this a necessary evil? Is it a case of be careful what you wish for? Because we wanted a kind of access to the people who control these brands. We wanted to hear what they had to say and what motivates them. But now we hear so much. Do you actually think it would be better if we went back to the old days and these people just shut the hell up?
Oh yeah, but I do agree with Ian, what he's been saying. The thing is, Russell T Davies brought back Doctor Who in 2005, and it was great. It was the series we used to watch, and it was rebooted to make it look spectacular. And then by the second series and the third series, he'd put stuff in that we all wanted, the old fans wanted. I don't know who this Russell T Davies now. I don't know who he is. He's like you said, he's an imposter, or he's a droid, or he's a robot. Or the only one thing I can think of is that Disney are saying, "Here's the money, you do what we say."
Maybe
you have to wonder.
Yeah,
and he's saying, "Okay, yeah, I'll turn it into this, I'll turn it into that." Doctor Who science fiction and the Christmas fantasy episode was just. You know what? I said the other day on chat, I think I sent you a message, and it said I used to rush home to watch Doctor Who, and I wanted to watch it live when it was on TV.
Yeah.
Right?
It's essential, isn't it?
If I couldn't, then that's fine, because with the new Doctor Who, I could watch it on catch-up. Now, I'm not really bothered. If I want to watch one of the new episodes coming in May, I'm not going to rush around to watch it. I'll watch it to see. Well, I'm curious. I'm curious to see what he's done with it. But I won't be watching it on a Saturday night. I'll be watching it on catch up probably a couple of weeks later.
Yeah.
Really? Oh, that's a sad state of affairs. That can't be good. I mean, hearing that, Sarah, that can't be what he wants, surely.
No, but I think there's a lot of people feeling like Nigel. I agree with all of you making brilliant points. I mean, Russell, that statement that Russell said, that completely contradicts an interview where he was saying about how he tore down the end of the world for being too optimistic, and he was saying how important it was that children know that the Earth can't go on forever and climate change, and it does seem a bit weird. Yeah, it is. He's saying one thing to one group of people, and in a few months' time, he's saying something else. So you can't help but be cynical about that. No, I don't think it's Disney telling him what to do, although that is an aspect. I think he agrees with the messages that Disney. It fits its ideology, but I think he was going to put this in anyway, particularly the trans stuff is obviously something that's very close to his heart, which is fine. But I don't see why we need it in a family show about.
Yeah, I think it's getting to the point where he has an unhealthy obsession with this, and I wouldn't like to speculate as to where it comes from, but it's unhealthy when you're peddling this much of it now to a mainstream audience. That's the end of it, as far as I'm concerned. It's very, very, very clear. It is a black and white issue. But reading that statement about, it's a great big hug from a friend. You're somebody who has been hugged by Russell T Davies.
I am. He's a very good hugger. He's a very good hugger. Again, I want to believe him, because that's the kind of statement that old Russell would have made, and you would have believed it, because I can imagine any of the doctors and companions being like that up until Jodie. I'm struggling to see it with this one, although I can glimpse in the trailer that Ncuti and Millie are good friends. There is that, chemistry there. But whether I feel particularly hugged by him, I feel like, you remember when Capaldi was saying, like, never just a hug, it's just a way to hide your face. I feel like if I was hugging Ncuti, I'd be hugging him, and he'd be mugging at the camera behind me, going,
If you try to hug him wearing this, you'd be slipping and sliding all over the place.
Oh, God. Let's not go there.
Well, this is the thing, you see. This is one of the things that I'm totally against, this stuff showing kids of 7 or 8, whatever. We don't want to be teaching them. We don't want to be grooming them. I mean, it's very subtle, shooting with that pair of pants, this stuff behind the scenes with Ncuti, wearing kind of craps. It's kind of sexual kind of thing. I just, for that's where I'm drawing the line. I mean, it's more so than anything that they're producing. I just think morally it's wrong, personally, and that's where I stand. I'll say this again: if I had kids, I would never let them watch this show, and the fear that Russell T is going to be putting some crap in there that I don't want my kids to watch.
After seeing both of the trailers, one of my first gut reactions was that I think this era is going to date terribly. I think I just get the feeling that it's kind of designed to be consumed once and forgotten, not rewatched endlessly over years and decades, like we've done with Classic Who and all of that. I mean, it just feels like it's just too of its time, to satisfy the needs of the moment, especially since, as you've said, Russell's consumed with inserting sexuality and cultural agenda box ticks into everything he touches. And that's just going to date this whole era instantly.
I think it's happening already. I think it's happening already, Ian. I think that Gary's absolutely right. And I think we saw some of that in the 60th anniversary specials, because obviously they'd been filmed well over a year before they reached the screen. And in that time, fashions and public opinion in Britain had drastically changed to the point where Russell T Davies, who was always slightly out of step with how the British public were feeling about the themes and the things that he put on screen in the 60th anniversary. But by the time November 2023 came around, or December, when they actually bloody shown the things, by the time it came to the air dates, it was massively out of step, and those episodes were seeming a little behind the times, because we've had so much agenda, ideology forced down our throats. Now we've got these new laws being passed in Scotland regarding sort of what is classed as hate speech and what isn't. We've got the online harms bill, all these other things coming through at such a rate of knots. The momentum has quickened up so much, and so they kind of looked a little bit out of date. I think you're absolutely right, Gary. And it worries me quite a lot. Doctor Who has always been a show of its time, but I think before it was never kind of contextually. It was the things that we were talking about a minute ago, and it was the stuff Matt Irving was doing, and it was the general kind of flavor. It was the same. It was the difference between buying a packet of pickled onion Monster Munch as opposed to being roast beef. You knew you were still eating Monster Munch. It was just a different flavor, and that's how classic Doctor Who, and by extension new Doctor Who, was too. But there's something very different about this. It's like somebody swapped your Monster Munch for something
But
else.
it was beyond this, though. I mean, where it started was with the BBC, all this nonsense. I mean, I totally disagreed with race swapping when the Time Lords were changing, you know, and gender swapping as well. That's what broke the bank for me with Doctor Who. Even though I ignored it and I wanted to watch Doctor Who, and I kept watching it and ignored all those things that were being changed. And from that start, we've got this now, which has gone beyond the point of stupidness. You know, and I think all this crap started with the BBC, and now BBC's handed over this pile of crap to Disney, and Disney's going to refine it. And this is one of the reasons why I'm out, because this is what's going to happen with it. So there's no mistake. This is what's going to happen with it.
This is the concern, because you can tell a difference in Moffat's writing from series 8 onwards.
Yeah,
and that's when it started creeping in. Now, if a skilled writer like Moffat is struggling to juggle with, you know, getting all this crap in, how is Russell going to do it? Especially when Russell agrees with a lot in it. Because Stephen, I suppose Stephen, you know, he's pretty liberal, but he always, you know, there's that wonderful interview where he says, you know, Doctor Who is for Tories as well. It's for, you know, for those who voted Tory. It's got to be accessible. He understood that it had to remain accessible for everyone.
But it's not, though, is it?
Well, it's not now, no. And yet Russell's like, well, I'm going to do it my version. It feels like this is the version he's doing for him and his friends and for all the people that agree with him. And there are people that agree with him, but it's only a small percentage of the population.
But I can tell you, right, based on the Christmas episode, right, and based on what I saw of Ncuti, I cannot believe he was the best man in the room when I came to audition. I cannot believe it. There's no way this guy was better than, the odds of him being better than the people that came into that room is not very good. I'm sorry, but he was ridiculously bad in the Christmas special, I found.
Maybe one day they'll release his audition.
Yeah.
I'd love to see the audition.
It was the casting couch.
Oh, no.
It's been quite it's been quite recently. We had quite a quiet 6 weeks, but the wheels are definitely turning, and the new season of Doctor Who is booting up. We've got an entire new broadcast strategy, internationally minded. That's all been unveiled, as well as some new posters, new trailers, and a set of complete episode titles too. We now know what all 8 are finally going to be called, the final titles. So all of this, it's all whipping up around the show. Obviously, in 2024, the general public tend not to get too excited about anything until about 6 days before it actually happens, never mind 6 weeks. But do you think that all of this, is it working, basically? You know, Goldie, is any of this seducing you in any way? Posters, trailers, episode titles, you know, pick whichever and start wherever. What do you think about it all? You obviously caught it all. Is any of it consistent in any way with what you would want it to be doing, what you would want it to be saying, and does it look like it's refreshed for an international audience?
Well, I mean, when they released that broadcasting schedule, I was very critical on social media, and like we were saying earlier with trying to remain optimistic and all that, I mean, personally, I don't really care if I had to stay up till midnight to watch it or watch it the next day, because like some of you have said, like, you're prepared to wait a little bit to watch it, so it doesn't really affect me. But the reason I was criticizing it is because there are those families who still probably will want to watch it live and as a family and treat it as an event. So I was sort of expressing anger for them, because I'm sure there are people who'd want to experience it like that, and they should be able to experience it like that. But I think this broadcasting schedule is a huge slap around the face. I mean, you know, the fact that this British science fiction show is put in essentially the British viewers second is very disrespectful. And
second, I think it's 5th or 6th.
yeah. And in regards to sort of the approach that Russell is taking and all the other creators involved, it sort of goes back to what we were saying a few minutes ago. Whenever you're criticizing Doctor Who, especially now, people will always come back with the excuse that, well, Doctor Who has always investigated and sort of commented on societal issues or things of that nature, and that's true. But the difference is now is that Doctor Who has always sort of been of its time, but the time we're in now is very much different because of things like social media and all that. So back then in the 70s, 80s, you could explore those issues, whether it's, you know, relating to race or perhaps government and that sort of thing. But because people were more sort of what can I say? They're much more calmer in their approach.
People were discreet about their political beliefs. They had their opinions, they formed their beliefs, and they put their crosses in their boxes every 4 years. But you would largely not talk about politics. People would never talk about politics nor religion. Now, I think you're right. We live in a kind of minefield, which is, you're absolutely correct. I think it's largely the fault of social media.
Yeah, and because with social media, there comes the sort of the danger of creating people that are trained to be sort of hyper stimulated. When you look back to 70s and 80s, you had these very long stories and they were able to discuss problems, see both sides. They were able to do it in a calm and collected manner. But because nowadays, sort of younger people, they want instant answers. They want information right there, bam, bam, bam. There isn't sort of that time to be able to unwrap a situation or look at it from both sides, because they immediately want, right, I want an answer. I want this. I want a definitive right now.
I want a definitive. I want a definitive actual nailing down of that which is right, rather I want you to tell me, or not tell me with that which is right. I want you to reinforce what I already believe is right. It's as if that people judge a lot of entertainment, not just Doctor Who. I think at one point we used to look at this material, and the first question we'd ask was, once the show had finished, we'd ask, have I been entertained by that? Now I think there's a whole generation, maybe 2 generations of people, where that's actually the second, maybe even third question they ask after an episode of Doctor Who or anything else has finished, Gary. And the first question they ask themselves is, do I agree with that which that program was saying to me? And then they decide if it's okay to say that they were entertained by it, that they liked it. I think Gold is absolutely right about this big difference. I think it's a societal thing.
Well, I mean, when it comes to, you know, television and movies, I've always thought the first duty of the creators is entertainment, because that's what it is at the end of the day. Even for a film,
escapism is that word we use all the time.
Yeah,
isn't it?
Even for a film like, you know, Spielberg, like for example, like with Schindler's List. Granted, it's not the same kind of entertainment that you might get in another type of film, but I mean, it has to capture you, and it has to, you know, allow your, you know, capture imagination. And even going back to the Russell T Davies quote you showed before, where he says, oh, and also it should be fun and entertaining. And I was thinking as you read that, Dan, no, that's flipped. The whole entertainment aspect should be first and foremost. And then if you can undergird that with, you know, some thought-provoking ideas or a message or whatever, like classic Doctor Who used to be, where the message wasn't primary, the message supported the story. It's totally upside down now.
The statement that I always make, Gary, is that and the definition, the distinction I always insist on making when anybody tells me that Doctor Who has always been political. No. There's a difference between a series that was topical and being political. Being political is an editorial position that one takes. That's why we have party political broadcasts certainly on British television. We have purposeful party political broadcasts to state a political position by said party. So a set of beliefs that make up a manifesto and potential course of actions, that which they're going to promise. That's not the remit of a piece of entertainment, not traditionally anyway. Old Doctor Who it would explore themes just as Goldie's identified. It would explore themes to do with ecology or any one of a number of things, organ transplants, all that kind of thing. And it would explore the ideas of the right and the wrong, the positive and the negative, the impact And obviously the plot would have to go somewhere. You'd got to reach some conclusion. But a lot of it was left in the mind in the way the original series of Star Trek was. And that's clearly the big difference now. They want to nail everything down and tell you what to think. But people, it doesn't seem to be fooling anybody, not for a minute. I mean, I always think to myself when it comes to this stuff, what would Jackie Tyler think? What would Jackie Tyler think, Sarah?
I don't know. I think the thing is, it's bigger. This problem's bigger than Doctor Who. It really is. These people are in charge of social media and right across the board, everything that's stuck to our lives. They want to change the concept of life for us. They want to change the idea that there are two genders. I don't want to say it, but they want to change everything from religion straight across to everything. And Doctor Who's just one of those facets within that insidious plot. So that's what I'm saying. This is one of the reasons why I will not support stuff like this no more, because it's bigger than we think, and I don't want to contribute to that. When I'm on my deathbed dying, somebody asks me, did you contribute? Did you watch Doctor Who? I would say no, I didn't, and then die unhappy, be happy. So that's what I'm saying. So I think it's bigger, but the thing is, joking aside, I think it's insidious, totally insidious, and you have to draw the line somewhere.
Doctor Who was never a platform, and it should be a platform.
Nor was Star Trek, nor was Star Wars.
No.
So yeah.
Obviously, this new series is on the way. Let's do a show of hands. Well, those of us who can see their hands. Where would your hands be, Goldie? So, are you going to be watching the new stuff? Is it a hand up or a hand down?
I will.
Is it reluctantly?
Well, probably just for the sake of reviewing it, but part of me is kind of intrigued to see, not because I think it's going to be amazing, although I'm totally open. Like, if it is good, I will say it's good. I'm not on this side of I will hate it no matter what. If it is good, I'll say that. But I feel I'm intrigued because I've seen where they went with the 60th and the Christmas special, so I'm sort of eager to see what other boundaries they try to sort of knock down, or things of that nature.
Where they could go with it all. How about you, Sarah? Because obviously you bailed about halfway through the Jodie Whittaker era, didn't you? You did. Yeah. You did sterling work.
I did. It was the Timeless Child that finished me off. I was like, no more. I don't know. I've not made my mind up. My kids have bailed. They're not interested. I honestly don't know, because when I watched the trailer, this second trailer, there was a couple of things that I did like, but then they were counteracted by things that I saw that I didn't like, and it snapped me out of it. But I was so excited for the 60th, and you know how I feel about those. I was bitterly disappointed, and I don't want to have to go through that again. So as yet, I'm still undecided. But I'm kind of feeling a bit like Nigel was. I'm not raring to stay in on a Saturday night. I think if I do watch it, it will be, I suppose I'll get round to it eventually. There's no like FOMO that you're going to be watching it, Dan, and I'm going to be missing out. I just feel like it isn't that must-see event television that it once was. I would rather curl up and watch my Blu-ray box set.
Yeah,
that's sad, really sad.
We've heard where you're going with this, Nigel, but obviously, Gary, you're overseas, and you've seen this new schedule. You've seen what they're doing to Brits. We're definitely getting shafted with this, but they're doing this with the international audience in mind. Is it working with you? Do you feel courted? You feel hugged? Do you feel courted by this? The fact that it's going to be up on Disney Plus to suit you guys, basically, is that sort of bringing you to the party? Are you going to be there with your finger hovering over the remote there, waiting for Disney Plus to drop it?
The fact that I'm probably going to be able to see it at a normal time, like 4 p.m. I don't know that I'd stay up.
Normal time.
I don't know that I'd stay up till. Well, at a time where my brain hasn't started shutting down for the day. I don't know that I'd stay up until 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. to watch it. And, in spirit, of course, I'm in solidarity with, all of you that feel, ill-used by the BBC in terms of, kind of shoved aside for the scheduling. But I don't know. I mean, I'd like to be able to say that I'm going to have the courage of my convictions and maybe kind of like not watch it. But I think I will try it in order to, see.
It's a trap.
Yes. I mean, you know what? Honestly, I'll be watching it more for Millie Gibson, who for me in both of those trailers was far more
honey trap.
Far more appealing. And well, hey, I mean, some of our colleagues who create interesting thumbnails and stuff, and I've seen a lot of Millie Gibson. I've seen a lot of Millie Gibson on those, so maybe I can hope that that's actually going to translate to.
But that's AI, though, mate. That's AI.
I will. I mean, I'll.
But yeah, the thing is, though, Gary, right? They might be out of all the episodes that Dan has put out put out on Type 40. One episode might be really good. It might be true Doctor Who with silly Gatwick. So the question you got to ask yourself, right? No, the other word is shitty, but I'm not going to say that, right? So, but the what you call it? The question you got to ask yourself is, if you see one really good episode, and then you watch that and you think, okay, it's back. And then the next episode is him without his pants and singing and dancing. I will not be held hostage to that. Do you know what I mean?
I'm never going to look at a single episode. I'm never going to look at a single episode and go, okay, the show is back. Because
you might do. You never know.
Well,
you might do. I don't know.
You know what I'll do?
I don't want to put myself through it.
If I feel myself tipping that way, I'm just going to close my eyes and I'm going to say like, the mantra, which is, good luck everybody, good luck everybody, until I kind of like right myself. But I don't think, honestly, I mean, I'd like to be able to say that all hope is extinguished in me right now, but if I was honest, it's not. I mean, I really do hope for the sake of the show.
I'm relying on Dan to yeah I'm relying on Type 40. Yeah, I'm relying on no not him. No, I'm relying on Dan to report honestly and truly the episodes that are being that are being presented. And I will listen with interest, but I'm sorry, I cannot put myself through this crap. It is honestly truly rubbish that they're producing. So yeah, mate, you can suck it.
Have you obviously we talked on the last Type 40 live streaming, we know there was one trailer had dropped at that point. We've got a second one now. Have you seen the second trailer?
No, I haven't actually. Is that any different from the first one?
Not really.
Okay.
It's different clips, but the ambience is very similar. It's just it hasn't got the cool David Bowie track. I mean, I think it's pretty good. I mean, it's good enough. It just has that feeling of it's like a lot of trailers that you see for a lot of shows. So at least with the first one, it had got the David Bowie track, which I believed was exhilarating. Yeah. Some of it looks great. Some of it looks okay. No, I don't think any of it looks especially particularly bad, apart from the Jinx Monsoon stuff. But yeah. What do you make of the trailers then, Gary?
I watched them both again this morning, and especially with the second one, for almost every scene where I could see it and I go, okay, that's kind of a doctorish moment from Ncuti. It was immediately followed by another scene where I go, that's not the Doctor.
What do you think, Nigel?
Yeah. So there was a clip in the new trailer of them walking across Abbey Road zebra crossing.
Yeah.
And then there was a clip of Ncuti's Gatwa on stage with a microphone.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, that's not Doctor Who.
Or Nigel, the scene where he's in the blue suit in front of all the dancers behind him, kind of leading all the dancers perfectly choreographed, and he is the flamboyant center of attention and everything.
Coolest man in the room. The Doctor is not the coolest man in the room.
Yes, exactly.
Might be the cleverest man in the room, probably at all times, but the coolest man, no. Or if he is ever the coolest man in the room, which I think sometimes the 10th Doctor and the 11th Doctor probably were, and maybe even the 12th, most of the time they didn't know, like they weren't conscious of the fact
that was the difference.
I started thinking that images of Troughton and McCoy flashed in my mind. It's like they would blend into the background and just observe. No, they would observe. They would stand back, be unnoticed, and observe. They would not throw themselves in front of everybody and be the kind of flamboyant show-off.
Maybe the character that Monsoon is playing has cast a spell on them all. Sorry.
I don't even want to talk. I honestly thought that when Chris Eccleston started, again, this is on record, I was disappointed with the very first episode with Chris Eccleston. Everybody knows that. But when he started, I thought he was not the Doctor. It's only when he did Dalek and that one, what is it? The one with the ghosts. What was that one called, Dan? The one with... Yeah. When he did that, and he was the cleverest man in the room. He was always in the background observing things. And that is the Doctor, right? I can't see this happening with Ncuti at all. He's smiling all the time. He's dancing with a skirt on, and you know what I mean? It's just, I'm sorry, but this is not the Doctor. And look, when they changed the Doctor, right, the thing they kept was the Doctor, the essence of the Doctor. Everything else changed around him, from technology to the stories, whatever. But they essentially kept the Doctor. It didn't matter who played him. It doesn't matter. That person was the Doctor. But with this, right, he doesn't even spawn from the other Doctor. He splits from the other Doctor. Therefore, the other Doctor still exists. What does that say about who this guy is? Do you know what I mean? I don't know who he is. And I would honestly, truly say that he is not the Doctor. Do you know what I mean?
I don't know who he is. I don't know who he is, Ian, but I know what he wants. He wants some loving.
I hate that as soon as I saw that.
What is that about? And also in the second trailer too, we see, and they hover on this for quite a while, we see a tear fall as well on the Doctor's cheek. We see him crying. I don't think that's... Again, this is something Russell's spoken about before, that he wants the Doctor to be seen like that, as if he feels the same emotions that human beings do. It's just he holds them in a very masculine and stoic way. I can see why you would do that, but it doesn't seem very doctorish to me. I don't think the Doctor should be seen to be crying.
Well, the Doctor has cried. We've seen him cry, but the thing is, though,
not this early.
No, not this early. No, but
didn't
the thing is that
didn't he cry in the Christmas one as well?
He did. He cried when Ruby disappeared, and it made no sense
But this is the thing. That's one of the tick boxing things, isn't it? To take masculinity out of every male that's on screen. That's the BBC's mantra, isn't it? So I'm not surprised that they're turning this Doctor into that kind of thing. You know, I don't know.
If you compare, Dan, that scene, that bit in the trailer where Ncuti cries to, and the end of the world, when he's holding that fan with Jabe and she says, "I'm so sorry."
Yes.
And he turns and he cries. That was genuine. That was emotion. And it was still masculine.
Because his face is steely, isn't it? The entire time. He's totally frozen.
And I'm just not feeling... All I'm getting from Ncuti, he's definitely got the swagger. And he's fun and he's quirky. But I just think... he's leaning into that too much, and we're not being shown. I'm not saying it might not turn up, but in the trailer so far, it's not shown. I'm not seeing that grit. I'm not seeing any gravitas. I heard him attempt to say a good line, and I just didn't. I didn't believe it.
About in a heartbeat, into dust in a heartbeat.
The battlefield, and I was thinking any other Doctor. Any other Doctor saying that would have smashed that. Well, except for Whittaker. But I was like, I'm just not.
I'm just not. The name Whittaker and I start laughing. It's a reflex action.
I mean, he didn't say it as bad as her, but I still got that level of. It feels like I don't know if this is because he looks so young.
He does look very young, doesn't he?
It sounds like a boy trying to be a man, and he's not quite. He's not quite getting there. Whereas Matt, I know he looked young, but he still sounded like when he said he was going to do. When he says, "I'm the Doctor," basically run.
Run. Yeah.
There's so much character on his. There was so much character on his face. I mean, Matt Smith is. I know many people's crushes is Matt Smith then and probably now. He's got quite a craggy look to him now, and he had a very distinctive look then. Whereas Ncuti Gatwa is a very conventionally good-looking man, and as you said, even though he's 32, he doesn't look 32. He could easily pass for 24. So you've got this guy who looks 24. He's impeccably dressed. He's physically cut, very, very handsome, and he seems to be the coolest man in the room at all times. You think, well, I've seen this. I can get this anywhere. This is any other show on TV. This isn't Doctor Who. Isn't every other show on TV? Doctor Who is Doctor Who, and that's why I liked it. That's why I loved it. That's why I latched onto it when I was a child, and I think that's true of every generation of fans that's come after it, Goldie.
Yeah, I mean, Russell. If you look with the 9th and 10th Doctor, they were very much, I would say, much more human than the other Doctors, but they worked because if you look at the 10th Doctor, I mean, a large part of his arc was his sort of humanity, but it worked with the 10th Doctor because his humanity was used to comment on the fact that the Doctor looks at humans and he envies them, he's jealous, but that's a life that he can never have. Whereas with Ncuti, Russell seems like he's forgotten all of that, and he's running around, he's skipping about, he's dancing, he's singing, he's crying, he's got all of the range of emotions just because that's what Russell wants to do. It's not used to create a comment on, the Doctor as a being or anything like that. Russell just seems to think, right. And here's the impression that I've got from the 60th, the Christmas special, and from what we've seen in the trailers, is it seems like Russell views everything that's come before as sort of, the BBC was holding me back. This is what I really want. We're going to fix all the past mistakes. I'm going to write the Doctor how he should have been. I don't know if that comes across to anyone else that way, but that's what
he knows better. And it's Chibnall did it as well, but Russell's doing it so much. Well, and Russell's admitting it as well in interviews. I know better. I'm going to do it this way.
We did think he was going to change the course of the previous one, didn't he, with Whittaker, and he didn't. He's just made it worse. He's just added so much more to the stupid Chibnall era.
I think I could deal with it if Ncuti has a moment like in The Unquieted Dead that you mentioned, Ian. If he suddenly turns if he stops being nicey nice and he suddenly turns to Ruby and says, "It's a different morality. Get used to it or go home." If he does that kind of, if he can do that, on a dime, we might get somewhere. But as it stands, I just can't. I've got no evidence of him being able to pull that off. It just seems so human.
I don't think he has the thing that's needed to be the Doctor. I mean, everybody knows I didn't like Sylvester McCoy, but right, if you look at the later episodes of him, he did sink into being the Doctor, didn't he? Yeah, he
put the work into the part.
Yeah. So, but it's a shame that he got cut off because maybe I might have liked him if they carried on. But I don't.
It's become quite obvious. It's become quite obvious to me talking on this roundtable. Ian, that the position that we're all in as a fandom right now, I think it's telling that when we have these casual conversations, and there's a couple of prompts, there's a couple of quotes and things like that, but generally this is a fairly open conversation. No matter where we start, we always end up traveling back to the same central point, and it proves that numerous people who've written the show and starred in the show have said before, basically, it doesn't really matter how much money you spend on this show, probably at what time of year that you show it, what time of the day that you show it. It probably even doesn't matter who's writing it. What matters the very, very most is that you believe in that central character. You believe they are who they say they are, because they're on screen for so much of it. And when they're not on screen, we always notice because the Doctor is this sort of massive charisma and all eyes are on him at any given time, whoever's playing him and however they're behaving. It's just that kind of show that's just driven by mostly one character. Even when they get the companion bang on, it's still the Doctor. When he's not on screen, you're wondering where he is. You're thinking about what he's doing when he's not. So it's quite natural, I think, that wherever we talk from, eventually conversation travels right back to the dead center there.
That's a big thing that jumped. That's a big thing that jumped out at me from the trailer, the second one especially. And it's hard, but, it's with a trailer. It's kind of like you're grabbing a handful of random puzzle pieces and you're trying to figure out what the entire picture is going to look like. So that's kind of hard. But especially from the second trailer, to Sarah's point and to Goldie's point, I didn't see anything there that gave me the idea that this is an alien that is fundamentally set apart from humanity. However much he loves humankind and he loves his companions, he's still an alien that is fundamentally apart. And I got kind of the exact opposite, that this is that this interpretation of the character is somebody who not only wants to blend in, but be the flamboyant center of attention. And maybe that's an RTD preference, or maybe that's a Ncuti preference. But I'm kind of like with Sarah. It's like I didn't see anything that would convince me that he can do the gravitas that's needed. And that's key, because Jodie never had that moment. And I think that totally undermined her doctor. She never had her doctor moment.
Yeah, she did. She did.
What was her doctor? What was her doctor moment, Ian?
It's the bit where she says, "This is a tongue. Is this a tongue?" That's the bit. That's the bit. Remember that bit?
Oh my God! Why did you have to remind me of that? Of all things. Oh.
That's our doctor moment.
You see, when people talk about doctor moments, Nigel, I think in the 21st century in particular, people tend to think about speeches delivered by Peter Capaldi or by Matt Smith when he's at Stonehenge. There's those moments, but that's a very new Who thing. They don't have to be big moments like that, do they? With rousing speeches and flashing, tracking spotlights. There can be quieter moments as well. I think for example, Troughton's moment is when he sits down next to Victoria in the Tomb of the Cybermen and just has the most personal conversation. Do you think that we'll ever get back to that version of Doctor Who, or are we in the age of speeches and Stonehenge permanently?
No, we will probably get another moment like that. But you know what I think the plan is? We're going to give Ncuti 2 years. If it doesn't work, we'll go back to Tennant and regenerate him properly. And then we'll have a proper Doctor. There was probably moments like that in the Baker era as well.
Yeah, there were.
All the way through the classic show there were.
Yeah. I love the fact that the Baker's Doctor hated going back to Earth, where this Doctor looks like he loved Earth.
But Baker's, I think, first true, what we're calling Doctor moment, I think, is in the Ark in Space, in the humanity.
Yes.
And that's kind of a mix. It was a speech, but it was very quiet.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it was a good speech. Let's face it, it really was. And he was talking to himself, wasn't he? He wasn't talking to anybody else.
That's the difference.
And it was, it's a really good.
And he loves humans, whereas now it'd be. We've seen it already when Whittaker gave us that lecture at the end of Open 55. Now it'd be humans. You're the scum of the earth. Everything's wrong. You did it all.
You do realise I've blanked all these episodes out of my memory. We've mentioned 3 of these Whittaker atrocities now.
Thanks for bringing up Working 55, Sarah.
I didn't watch any.
From Roundtable back to the doctor's couch. I'll be at the GP tomorrow.
Yeah, we should drink a shot every time we mention.
But every one of them had their moments. Again, right, I have been watching a bit of Sylvester McCoy stuff, and I never remember the name of the episodes. The one with the Daleks, obviously the famous one where Ace.
He doesn't remember any of them either.
Smashed up the
has no idea.
With the baseball bat. Right, there's that moment when he comes into the back of the truck. Yes, and everybody's like, "Who are you?" And he takes command of the truck. He takes command of everything that's around him. Right, and that
he does it quietly. He does it quietly as well, doesn't he? Ian?
Yeah.
He points to a screen that's flickering away. He says, "What's that doing there? What's that light?" And maybe you want to look at this, that, and the other. Because he speaks so commandingly, albeit quietly, they don't doubt that he knows what he's talking about. He knows more than they do.
Exactly. So basically, when the Doctor's on con man mode, He's really good at it. You know, everybody assumed he was from the art. Everybody assumed that he got sent there to help them. Do you know what I mean? Because he's the cleverest man in the room, and this is what they keep missing with the Doctor.
It's when the Doctor says to Professor Rachel Stenson, he says, "Is there any possibility of natural phenomena?" And she just looks at him as if to say, her first thought is, "Who the fuck is this guy?" And then she thinks, "That's a really good question," and so the conversation carries on.
And then everyone around him, they're quite like when he sees that thing, and everybody's like, "So, Doctor, what do you think?" They're all asking him, "What do you think?" Because again, he is the cleverest man in the room. I keep saying this. That was what was missing from sometimes from Russell T's ones as well. But again, he did have his moments where there was a cleverest man in the room with Chris Eccleston. So that's why I love the Doctor Who so much, is because when I was a kid, it always reminded me of that. I always knew he was the cleverest person in the room. And there were moments where he would destroy things. There are moments where he made speeches. There are moments where humanity came out of him. Do you remember that one with the giant robot, right? Where what's his name? Brigadier's saying, "Well, what do we do, Doctor?" And the Doctor's just got his hat on and he's sitting next to the thing, and I can't remember what he was playing with. We have to blah blah blah, whatever.
Is he looking at pulverized flour? He's looking at pulverized flour.
Yes.
And he blows it in the Brigadier's face.
Yeah, he knows, right? He doesn't have to prove himself at all. So that's what I'm saying. This is what's missing, and we're miles away from this now. We're in an area where I don't even understand what's going on at all. I really don't. So
I was watching episode 3 of Image of the Fendal last night, and he walks into this old lady's house. You probably know this scene. And he says to, I think it's her son, tea, make some tea, 4 cups, and fruitcake. And suddenly he's in charge. He's in charge of everything.
And then he's like, "I love fruitcake."
I love how he wakes his mum up as well by getting the recipe wrong. And she sits up like, "That's not how you make fruitcake."
But that's the thing, you see. What's his name? Moffat and Russell T tried to imitate that, especially in the 11th hour when Matt Smith runs into that house with the old lady. And he just sits to watch the TV. "I'm from so-and-so, whatever." And she just totally believes him. Then he goes into the room and just that handsome guy, and he tells him to go on the computer, and he goes, "Right, erase all the history, whatever." If somebody tried to do that in my house, I would have kicked him out. You know what I mean? But as I said, that's generally Doctor Who, right? So, but we're way away from all that now. We're talking about dancing in a club and all that nonsense now. It's ridiculous, isn't it?
Back to the new series to round things off, because we have had they're out. They've been released, the final episode titles for all 8 episodes of season 1 of all new Doctor Who. They're out. So it begins with Space Babies. That's week 1 in a double bill with The Devil's Chord. Moves on to Boom by Stephen Moffat for week 3, and then 73 Yards by Russell T Davies. Russell's up again with Dot and Bubble, followed by the 2 Loki writers. They've turned in Rogue. That's the one that's set in the Regency period. And then things end with The Legend of Ruby Sunday and Empire of Death, a 2-part season finale, again by Russell T Davies. So we've got the titles and a few sort of promo reels, which they ran out onto social media. They were quite creative, I suppose you could say. And obviously, from watching the trailer, you can piece together which bits could be from which episode, which is kind of fun, I suppose, Goldie. I mean, is there much in these titles, do you think, or is it sort of what's in a name? You know, don't bother with me with names. I'll watch it and I'll see then.
Well, for most of the titles, I think they're pretty generic, you know, Boom, Dot and Bubble. The only one that I would say is pretty interesting is The Legend of Ruby Sunday. And the reason I say that is because it speaks a lot to her character, I think, because and this is something that I think Russell was adopted from Moffat's approach. I mean, Moffat with his companions, they were always the impossible girl or the girl who waited. They were more than just a companion, right? Yes. Whereas Russell seemed to be just generic humans. And with this, The Legend of Ruby Sunday, it sort of adds sort of a mythology to her. You have the mystery that was started in the church from Ruby Road with her mother, or who we believe to be her mother. So there's obviously something there. So I feel what he's going to be doing is more akin to what Moffat did. Ruby's going to be more than a human. She's going to be, I don't want to use the term girl boss, but you know what I mean? There's going to be something very special about her.
Yeah. Nothing new then. It's just
No,
they're just regurgitating.
Again, I agree. Yeah, not only are the generic, the very Disney, and me and Gary were talking about this yesterday. Like Space Babies, to me, all I saw was Monsters Inc. Who's like the nursery and the monster, which isn't necessarily a bad thing because Doctor Who monsters, but Dot and Bubble, Gary said it was like Lilo and Stitch. And it's just very, these one words, I suppose they're very, accessible for kids, but the only one that really caught my eye was the 73 yards because that looked like a spooky one. That at least that had got atmosphere. And Empire definitely sounds like a Doctor Who title, but I'm kind of like...
It's the closest we've got to the curse of Fenric, the brain of Morbius.
Yes.
But again, I suppose you can't put too much stock in. I mean, I remember the days I was scoffing at 42, and I like that episode. I remember laughing at Kablam. What kind of rubbish is this? And I think that was the only episode that I've ever watched twice in the Jodie run. Because I enjoyed it the first time around. I thought, did I really enjoy that? I'm going to watch it again. And I enjoyed it until the end. I was like, you spoilt it because the Doctor sides with the corporation. I'm like, that's not right. The Doctor's a rebel. Yeah, it was a bit iffy, but the general, with the bubble wrap and everything, I thought that was quite fun. You just don't know with the titles. But yeah, I wish there'd been something a bit more clever. How disappointed is Boom from Stephen Moffat?
And that looks like a generic sci-fi sort of bulkhead there as well.
Yeah, it just doesn't seem very exciting.
And I thought that was supposed to be, I thought RTD had promoted Moffat's episode as this kind of Hitchcockian one, which feels more like the 73 yards one. But I don't know. I just miss the really evocative titles, which even after decades still kind of gives me chills, like Inferno or Carnival of Monsters or Robots of Death. Where do they give us chills after the fact, though, Gary? Because we remember watching them possibly. And how they made us feel. Yeah, no,
because we haven't seen these yet.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Which one's the dance musical one then?
That is the Devil's Chord there at the top.
Okay, good luck with that one.
That's the Beatles. That's the Beatles one, right? That's the Beatles one, right?
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
I actually haven't got a problem with any of these titles. I think Rogue is a little bit of a yawn, but I haven't got a problem.
The box ticking one, is it? Is that the box ticking one?
Yeah.
Well, actually, all of them box
it's not referring to the X-Man either. It's not referring to the X-Men character.
It's another Rogue time agent, Yon.
They could be, because there's a couple of characters now. Jonathan Groff's character is in that one, and Indira Varma's character. Yeah. So maybe there could be a case of the person we think is the villain might not be. Blah 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 blah. That kind of thing. I don't know. 73 yards. Boom. You can't read much into them. I don't think. Which and I think the way that they're being marketed as well so far, and this could be seen as actually quite canny in the age of the streaming platform, with it going on to Disney Plus, is it's being marketed in a similar way that Black Mirror was or is. I can never work out whether Black Mirror is still a thing or not, whether Charlie Brooker's still making the show or not. But that's what it reminds me of. These slides, those tiny promo films that they put out there, and Doctor Who is kind of an anthology show in serial form. So I can get on board with this. I'm not seeing anything that frightens my horses at the moment. There was a couple of titles which I was initially very cold on, which I'm kind of warming up to and thinking, well, you haven't seen them yet, Dan.
Dan, do you think that this was, in your opinion, that this was kind of an unusual and effective way to market it with like little 4-second snippets for each of the episodes?
At the time, I just looked at it and thought, oh yeah, whatever. More fodder for what Goldie was talking about, really, for that for the attention economy. bite-sized. They used to call them blipverts in Max Headroom back in the 80s. Do you remember? I thought, oh, come on, could we have something a bit more substantial? But now I've stopped to think about it. I think it's certainly viable, and it's probably, I won't say clever marketing, it's probably appropriate marketing for reaching the people they want to and for striking the chord that they want to, striking the right note with the kind of material they're trying to align with, which the more I think about it, the more it could be a Black Mirror for family audiences. That's not not a bad fit for where I probably would take Doctor Who in 2024 if I was doing it. Does that answer your question?
No,
I don't know, lads. I really don't.
Space Babies just reminds me of the Christmas Goblins.
Yeah.
And I don't like those.
No, do I. None of it made any sense, that Christmas
You
special.
got a few nightmares.
Really
you didn't sleep on Christmas night after that one then, Nigel. Did it keep you awake?
Oh, no, I slept fine. It was just absolute crap.
But I just wondered if, Space Babies was the original title for Partners in Crime. Because that's basically what the episode is about. And he's just recycled it. Yeah, it just seemed a bit odd to have something to do with babies so soon after the Christmas one.
Yeah, more babies.
But don't
well,
know.
you know where it's going
maybe
down,
Russell's feeling broody. I don't know.
Maybe they've got a creche at Bad Wolf Studios, and
I know.
Some kids in there anyway.
It's not looking good, guys. It's not looking good.
Talents they don't have to pay unless they pay them in rusks or something. The kids still eat rusks.
Well, little babies. Well, I do. I do. Love them. Yeah.
Ian David Dears loves a rusk. You heard it here first. Good luck.
I do.
Go on, go and say it again, Ian. Say it again.
Well, good luck, everybody.
It's not getting old yet. It's not getting old yet. So yeah, we want to know what you think of it all in the comment section. Of course, we do. All these titles, all these trailers, the way they're delivering new Doctor Who to us wherever you are in the world. I think that's going to take a lot of processing. Who knows where we'll be by September, by August. In fact, it'll all be wrapped up by August. Of course, because of this double bill, it all wraps up in 7 weeks. I mean, over summer as well.
End of June,
but guys, I'd like to ask you all a question. How long do you reckon this version of Doctor Who's last? Do you reckon Ncuti's going to leave after? I'm assuming he's got a 2-year contract or something.
2 years.
2 years? Do you reckon, guys? What do you reckon,
2
Dan?
years.
As I understand it, they signed him for 3 years.
Oh, okay.
But whether that means, I know that they're not. They went pretty much in TV terms, pretty much from season 1 directly into season 2. I think there was only about 2 months where they weren't filming. As I understand it, there'll be a bigger gap between season 2 and 3 because he's got another role. He's doing something else in between those.
Oh, is he? Okay.
But as I understand it, he's definitely doing a season 3. As I've repeated several times, Bad Wolf has a 5-year deal with the BBC to make Doctor Who, but they're a substantial way through that already. There could be about 3 years through that because this was announced in 2021. Now was it 2021? Wow. So I think it's too early to know whether that will be renewed or not. I'd say they probably will renew that deal. But again, that's time rather than amount of material they produce. So I think it's really hard to say. I believe the Ncuti Gatwa era will be permitted, will be financed to roll out to whichever its natural conclusion is going to be. I'd say that Ncuti probably knows already. I think it's probably agreed between them how long he's going to do. I'd like to think he's going to do 4 seasons, simply because there's only 8/9 per year. I think that he needs to really make a contribution, to make a statement, to make an impact in this role. He needs to be there for 4 seasons.
I don't think he's going to do 4. I think he might do 3 just to do the traditional. So it looks like it's not been a failure. Oh, I've done my 3 series like most actors do. Yeah. And I think, I don't want to say his heart's not in it because it's clearly a life-changing role for him. But I think there's other things he wants to do. And he's a young actor, and I don't think he's in it for the long haul, regardless of what happens.
like a lot of people, I don't think, having said that, look, only really Matt Smith, Peter Capaldi, knew what he was getting into. Matt Smith didn't know what he was getting into. Whittaker certainly didn't. Eccleston didn't. Paul McGann kind of had an inkling, but that was only because he was friends with Sylvester McCoy. He'd seen how it had changed his life. He didn't really appreciate. So a lot of these actors, they don't really know what they're getting into, even if they're aware of Doctor Who, until they start doing it. I think he's doing it because it probably seemed like fun, and it's a massive role, and he does seem very committed to it to me. But a lot of it could depend on the reception to these episodes, whether it does have any kind of cultural impact at all. And to be honest, in 2024, I'm not sure I even know how we chart, plot, calculate cultural impact anymore, Goldie. I mean, who are we? Because conventional ratings are going out the window. Streaming platforms don't really publish figures. People tend not to talk to one another anymore about the things that they've watched because we all watch it at different times. How can one measure cultural impact in 2024, Goldie? I'll pass that one to you.
Well, I mean, it's kind of hard to say. In regards to Ncuti, how long he's staying for, of course, you said that you've heard, or you have some sort of inkling that he's doing 3 seasons, but I think they've done the 2. I don't believe they've started to do any filming for the 3rd at the moment.
Series is partially written.
Okay, well, I'm not. I've always been up until now. I've always been of the opinion that they would do the 2 and sort of see the reception, and if it's negative, then they'd do some drastic changes. And then if it goes well, then they would just do the 3rd. But in regards to, because as you said, the way that we measure, how many viewers an episode gets or the reception to it is it's very hard to measure. So I don't know, how does one go about that? I mean,
no idea. And I think they want us to have no idea as well. I think they want it to become some sort of mystic art or code that we can't crack. Whereas with Barb ratings, we can all go and look them up. They're published every time. They don't want us to be able to do that anymore. They don't want us to know how well their shows are doing.
Well, Netflix has a couple of months ago, was it beginning of this year? They released their numbers on the stuff that they were showing. So Netflix is probably one of the first streaming platforms that's actually released.
Well, they will, because they're doing well and they're proud to show it off.
They were doing really badly a couple of years ago when we had Gary Beekler on the live show a few months ago now on Type 40 Live. I mean, I jumped at the chance to ask Gary because he's all over all of this, and he's got a very keen eye for that which the streaming platforms publish and where they put it. He's very good at finding what little information there is out there. And to be fair to Gary, he gave us an answer, but he didn't really have that much to say on the subject either.
No.
He says they do when it suits them was how Gary saw it.
I think it'll be if the kids get into it and like we saw with Barbieheimer, that's probably the most cultural moment we've had. I mean, it's depressing, really. That's what it is, but you can't deny it was a moment. People, the Ken. I'm just Ken. Is anything gonna? Is there gonna be?
But it spoke. Sorry, Sarah, but it spoke to both, and it spoke to. Oh God, should I say this? It spoke to the gay people, Barbie, but it also spoke to little girls who brought Barbie dolls and stuff like that, and then it spoke to the curious people. So they captured that.
And it spoke to the men because Ryan Gosling's such a chad, It's everyone.
All the film, as I understand it.
Yeah, it's. I don't think they were aiming for that because Ken was supposed to be the villain. I think that backfired. But again, it was a thing. And whether I mean, the closest thing. The only thing I've noticed from the specials that keeps getting repeated is that meme with the toy maker when he says, "Well, that's all right then." That's popped up a few times. That seems to.
Yeah, I've seen that as well.
I've never noticed anything. Nothing quotable like bow ties are cool or spoilers like we used to.
Yeah. Anybody see that April Fool's thing yesterday with Bruce Campbell?
No.
So they put this poster up saying the next Doctor is Bruce Campbell. And saying the Americans have got Doctor Who. I think it was all over X and stuff. Some people actually believed it. Because like Bruce Campbell in his blue suit. It's like the new Doctor and stuff like that.
I tell you what, I'd watch it.
I gotta tell you, I was stunned to hear Dan just say that they're writing season 3. I mean, when they don't even have an idea about what the reception for the first season is going to be, that just knocks me
up to a point. I don't think it necessarily matters what the reception is going to be, particularly in one territory. I think they have an agreement to produce a certain amount of content, and this is a genuine concern I've got, not just about Doctor Who. Obviously, it smarts more with Doctor Who because Doctor Who is a very personal show to me, as it is to all of us. But the treating of entertainment as just content, as just, we need X amount of hours. It's almost inconsequential as to whether people enjoy it or not. We need X amount of hours. We've got this IP. We'll exploit it. We'll squeeze this amount of content out of it, and then we'll look at whether it's successful after the fact. We can then market those 30, 40 episodes for however long we see fit. We can have them on our platform for 3 or 4 years, or we can have them on our platform for 10 years. But they're always there. They'll always reap some sort of dividends for them. I think that's how they look at it. I think they look at it in a very corporate, in a very cynical way. I think the audience, and this is something which is hammered home by that broadcast pattern, that global streaming sort of list of times there, the viewing public matter less than ever.
Yes, that's absolutely true.
That's true.
Absolutely true. They don't care.
And have they been tracked? Have they been tracking how the Whoniverse is doing on iPlayer in terms of, are more people watching classic series than the new Who? Or
no, they don't break it down like that. And then that's, you could say, I mean, I'm actually a big advocate of them grouping it all together. That was the right thing to do, but it does mean they can obfuscate now. Because obviously far fewer people are gonna bother watching the Battle of Ranks Core of Kolos. You've all mentioned one of those bloody awful episodes, so I might as well join in.
Pretty good.
Well done for remembering the title.
You're going to get. I'm not sure it was right. I'll have to go and look it up after. But you're going to get about 3 people watching that per year, probably by accident. Whereas when it comes to the Empty Child, or the Horror of Fang Rock, or the Daleks, the Dead Planet, whatever you want to call it, you're going to get a lot of people watching that stuff, and they don't want to publish those kinds of. They don't want the indignity made public.
Sarah just wants to know how many people are watching Orphan 55. That's all she.
It's just you, Gary.
Some of us will be watching Doctor Who, maybe on either May the 10th or May the 11th, depending on where you are in the world is when you're going to get it. I don't know. You obviously delete where applicable, and you do you is probably the best advice that I've got for anybody out there. It does hurt the British public. I think that when the general license fee payer, like Jackie Tyler there, I think when they get wind of it, they're going to be pretty unhappy about it, and it could very well hammer another nail into the coffin of the BBC. But let us know what you think, as always, in the comments section. In the comment section there.
I'm a big fan. Thank you.
All right, good to see you.
Come on, man. Nice to meet you, mate.
All the best. Take care.
That's Doctor Who. I just met Doctor Who. Stop playing with me, bro. This is the type of places we be at. We meet Doctor Who. What are you doing?
Oh, wow.
Dr. Who and Dr. What?
What are we doing? We've been chilling out and hanging out here at the Type 40 Mind Probe Roundtable for April. And I do love that video. It makes me laugh every single time. But it wouldn't be a Type 40, would it, without a look at some pretty pictures. So there's Capaldi. He's pondering something there. He could be pondering if there's any decent fan art out there featuring his Doctor. And it turns out there is.
Is that what he's doing? I thought he was reenacting the Grand Old Duke of York.
Could be a bit of both. This one's from George Cairns, and it's this is a wonderful thing. We see these all the time across social media at Sci-Fi Toy Photo, and he obviously does wonderful things with his collection of action figures. So he has the 12th Doctor there, holding up the skull, all Shakespeare-like. I think the idea is this is supposed to recreate a moment from Heaven Sent, Sarah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm actually getting goosebumps
Weird fingers.
looking at this. Beautiful.
Is that his fingers?
Yeah.
I think so.
It's the model.
Weird fingers.
But yeah,
Weird
there's
fingers.
just the atmosphere of that episode, and the solemnness of it. And yeah, it's a very pensive moment. Very well done, and the skull's really well done as well. Actually,
Yeah. I mean, I've got action figures and stuff like that, but I've never been tempted to do this with them. I know that a lot of people do. I mean, our friend Ian O. Time Lord, he does this as well. But this is particularly effective. Well done, George. I like this. I could almost go and watch Heaven Sent again, Nigel. Do you go back to that one often?
Heaven Sent. Remind me.
It's the one that only stars Peter Capaldi. I think it's on for about an hour, and he roams around.
Yes. I haven't watched it again. I watched it when it was first on, but no, I haven't gone back to it. Maybe I should.
Oh, you should, Nigel. I regularly go back to this one. To me, it was one of the high points of season 9, and it's very, very good during Halloween as well. It's always a brilliant episode.
I tell you what, I bet it put a few people off from renewing their membership to the National Trust, that one, because it did make a march around one of their places look a bit ropey, bit of a ropey prospect.
I actually think. Sorry, I was just going to say. I think Doctor Who peaked with this. I don't think anything's bettered this episode, but except possibly World Enough and Time and the Doctor Falls. That's probably equaled it. And I just think it's sad that I don't think in the next couple of years we're going to get anything as meaty. As this. I think it's going to be. I think all these episodes are going to be very light, frothy, fun, but ultimately disposable. I don't think there's going to be anything, this caliber. I could be wrong. We'll see. We'll see in the summer.
And black and white was the perfect choice for this image.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. It's a good image.
Black and white and gold. How about you, Gold? Have you got any action figures? And if you do, would you ever be tempted to do this on the old smartphone? Get yourself a new home screen?
I don't usually engage in a lot of things like this, whether it's cosplaying or sorting action figures in certain poses. But I will say, in regards to Heaven Sent, I do think it's definitely one of the highlights of Capaldi's era. I mean, his era is very much a mixed bag, but Heaven Sent is definitely one of those like god tier episodes, and it really does perfectly explore the stages of grief, both through dialogue, Capaldi sort of talking to himself, but also visually with the castle and all the walls sort of trapping him inside. It perfectly resembles sort of the stages of grief, and I think that's absolutely amazing how Moffat did that.
Wonderful stuff. So, yeah, well done, George Cairns. You can go and find him on X and Instagram, I think, a sci-fi toy photo. Not just Doctor Who stuff, lots and lots of things. You mentioned Sylvester McCoy earlier on, Ian. Knowing he was a big favourite of yours, I managed to have this. If you remember as well, a popular piece of Doctor Who imagery we see all the time is the painting from the episode that featured Van Gogh, if you remember, from way back in 2010. From the episode Vincent and the Doctor, the painting of the TARDIS exploding that's done all sort of Van Gogh style. We've all seen that, haven't we? And if you've seen Sylvester McCoy, either seen him at conventions or photographs from conventions anywhere in the world, he's always wearing a waistcoat, isn't he? And I think somebody has taken inspiration from that and created this fabulous portrait of the Seventh Doctor.
Oh, it's beautiful.
That's good.
That is really well done. Oh.
It's by Rihanna Evans. There, obviously in Van Gogh's signature style.
Yeah, well, is it him that said, to paint? Was it painting like an adult's fine, but to paint like a child is the thing that he was aiming for. I think he said that. I can't remember who said that, but yeah, I'm not saying that this is painted by a child.
So,
That's good.
I've never heard that quote, but I hope he is, because it's quite a nice thing to say, I think.
Yeah, it takes a lifetime.
Any Sylvester fans on the panel? Would you have this in a postcard, Gary, or frame it?
I'm a big. Forgive me, Ian. I'm a big Sylvester
fan.
No, you know what I love about this one? I love that the tie is askew. That's what I gravitated for, because that's kind of like his season 24 character, just kind of a little bit frumpled, with a tie askew and everything. I love this.
You always look like somebody that got dressed in a rush.
Maybe I love that about him, because that to me, that is the Doc. He's chaotic. It's just chuck whatever and go, because it's the adventure. You haven't got time to look immaculate.
I think my favourite aspect of this is the brim, the under brim to his hat. The way that the colour sort of radiates through that. I think this is absolutely beautiful. The more I look at it, Rihanna, well done.
Yeah, the eyes are fantastic.
The eyes are wonderful. Yeah, I look. It looks like, I know this is just the effect, but it looks like he's looking at his reflection in water, and it makes me think. Yeah. I automatically just think of that quote about ripples. That was in remembrance of the Daleks.
Oh yeah.
It just seems to fit so perfectly with this picture.
Fabulous.
I'm going overthinking now, aren't I? I'm getting.
No, I don't think you are. I think it's wonderful. I think it's wonderful.
The more you look at it, it looks like he could be turning into one of the cat people from the last story.
Oh yeah.
Survival. Yeah. Look.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It does a bit, yeah.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, the pattern on the face.
I like it. Yes. So thank you everybody for your company on this roundtable edition of Type 40 Extra. I do feel we've got to know one another a little bit better, and maybe helped one another through as well this very precarious time in Doctor Who fandom. Gold. It does seem that even though we've seen a whole episode of this era, that we're in limbo and it hasn't really started, and people are still kind of nervous. You've heard how Ian feels about it. He's all out, and I can't say I blame him in many respects. This distance in between the special and the season could be costly, but quite clearly you're going to continue watching and continue making content. If people want to hear more from you, where can they find you, Goldie?
Well, you can find me over on my YouTube channel, same name, Golden Age Geek, and there I'll do videos about all the Doctor Who news and various other content. And you can find me on X. I like to be a bit more positive from time to time. I like to go back to old movies, perhaps, that I have recently watched and enjoyed, and perhaps focus on a scene and say why it's so great, sort of the significance of that. So you can find me primarily on those two platforms. And this has been an amazing conversation that we've had. We're traveling through very rocky territory, but it's always nice to sit down and have a calm chat with friends and get to see everyone's different perspectives.
I couldn't agree more. Thanks for coming on, Gold. It's been a pleasure. Hope we can tempt you back at some point in the future. Gary, back again. Bloody hell.
He's always back.
Gary, great to have you back as always.
Yeah, no, thank you. No, you can find me on Facebook under RetroDoc or Gary Akers, or in the Type 40 chats. I'm always here, or I'm on the phone with Sarah.
I was going to say he survived WonderCon, but did WonderCon survive you? That's the real question, isn't it? It's great to see you, and hope it won't be too long before you have you back again. And obviously, I do hope for the best. I hope you enjoy the season that's coming up. We'll probably speak before then, though.
Of course.
Ian David Diaz, the Mega Geek, continuing to work away on Rebecca Gold 2, as I understand.
Yeah, still working on it. Hopefully it'll be finished by the end of this year, making great progress. Running out of money, but that's the way it goes, I guess. But when it's all done, hopefully you guys can criticize it and rip it apart. I'll be saluting you all.
And the link to the GoFundMe for Rebecca Gold Season 2 is also in the description to the video as well. Everybody, thanks for your company as always, Ian. Nigel, David, good to have you back as well. Have I kept you up, mate? What you got planned for the rest of your evening?
I've just got a new little kitten. So as soon as this is finished, I'm going downstairs to play with the kitten. And that's
not a euphemism, everybody. He genuinely means it.
No, really, I've seen pictures. He's called Harry. A gorgeous little kitten.
Harry, yeah.
You didn't call it Shooty then? No.
Is he called Harry? Is he called Harry after Harry Sullivan, though, Nigel?
Okay.
Well, it could be now. Yes.
It's Harry.
No, I've got a Henry, a Hattie, and now Harry.
A Harry Palmer. Yes.
There you go. Harry Palmer.
Yeah.
Oh God! Did I really just crack that dad joke? It must be getting late, Sarah. It must be getting late. Yeah. Talking of which, yeah, they're there. As if by magic. Sarah, we didn't get the bunny ears, but we did get fabulous conversation as always, and your free and easy charm. Thank you for joining us again for this one. What have you got coming up for the rest of the week? What are you looking forward to? Are you going to be watching anything in particular? More of the season 15 box set, maybe?
Yeah, definitely.
No, you have not. No, you haven't opened yours. You're like me.
I
aren't
haven't
you?
opened it, but yeah, no, it's going to get open this week, definitely. And I've nearly finished my Hartnell era, well, at least the ones
that exist.
I've just finished the War Machines for the very first time. Really enjoyed
the War Machines.
We need to have a conversation about the War Machines at some point. Yeah, very exciting. And yeah, just enjoying being at home, having the boys home. Hopefully we get some nice weather eventually. That would be nice as well.
The odds are probably against it. Just heading up to summer, it's bound to piss it down. Okay, but the good news is that Type 40 continues. Type 40 Live will be back streaming across YouTube, Rumble, and Facebook. Of course, it will, as the countdown to season 1 of all new Doctor Who continues, as well as that, there's the podcasts as well. We recorded, in fact, you've almost certainly had it by now. We recorded a belter the other day, and there's lots more good stuff coming up as well. Let us know what you think of it all. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and leave us a comment or two. Yeah, curl up there in the console room and just enjoy on the playlists, the podcasts, the live streams, and the extras. We always have the time if you have the space here at Type 40 Extra. We'll see you on the next one. Thanks everybody for all the conversation and your company.
Everyone.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.